Okay, it is 12:03. Today is Tuesday, December 7th. This is the Historic Preservation Board meeting. Citizens may speak on action items listed on the agenda. A request to speak card should be completed and returned to the city clerk or board secretary prior to the board reaching this section of the agenda. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise required by law. Comments related to public hearings, if any, will be heard when the specific hearing is called. Item number A, receive report, hold a discussion, and take action on the 2022 meeting dates and times. Any comments, or I think it's the third page we were given.
We discussed yesterday that if you wanted to change the time, we could, but if you're okay with it being as it is, then,
No, any time's good for me. I don't know about the rest of the board members.
okay.
Yeah. Then, do you need a motion on this, or
Just accept the calendar.
somebody want to make the motion?
I move to accept the proposed calendar for 2022 Historic Preservation Board meeting dates.
Do I have a second? Second. Might turn on your microphones. They're on. Okay, item B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the motion is carried. Item B, receive report, hold a discussion, and take action on the minutes from the October 19th, 2021 regular meeting and October 26th, 2021 special meeting. Any comments or questions? Can I have a motion?
Fanchen, would you like those motions separate? You can approve them together. I move approval of the minutes for the 2021 regular meeting on October 26th, October 19th, and the special meeting on October 26th, 2021.
Can I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the minutes are approved. Item C, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take on action on electing a chair and vice chair to receive a one-year term.
This would be as of the first meeting in January.
Mr. Chair, I've been quite pleased with
You flatter me.
as chair, and I would wonder if you would be agreeable to serving for another term.
Well, certainly. Who would like to be vice chair? Linda?
I
Okay.
would be delighted. That would be a great honor.
All right. There's your slate, Donna. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve both Linda as vice chair, George as chair.
I have
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then it's approved. Thank you. Moving right along. Okay, receive report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to modify the facade at 430 West Chestnut, case number 2021-70H. Ms. Dow.
So this case has previously come before you, and you discussed colors, and you can see it's here where the water department office was, and Ms. Amy Jordan is with us today to speak on it. The item went to council, and there was some discussion on colors, and there was colors that were approved as shown here. And there was also discussion about breaking it up and offering some character-defining features to the facade that shows with the signage. And so we'll come back to that in just a second. There are your current pictures. And a side view. You've also previously approved some changes to the side. I think a fenced-in area. But this is specifically about the stone that would potentially be added. That's an example of it. And then this is what the request is, to add 3 foot of stone to the bottom of the front facade. And we've discussed all that. So, Amy, would you like to? You've got some samples there and anything?
So this is a sample of that stone, if y'all wanted to see it up close. We're just asking to add, on the front of the building, a stone edge to kind of break up the front of that building to give it some more character. So, that's it.
Any discussion on this?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I appreciate your continuing to work with us and to
Yeah.
propose ways to make that building be better and more attractive. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to add something to that, too.
Sure.
We had no intention of changing the colors of your logo.
It's okay. We're good. We're
fine with that.
we're moving forward.
I knew you were kind of concerned about that in one of the
Yeah.
previous meetings, and that's not our desire. The
Sure.
logo is a logo, and it is what it is. You can't change it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
And the stone is really a nice addition to that.
We think so.
building. It gives it character and,
Yeah.
makes it a very pretty building.
We think it's going to make a difference.
A nice
So-
one.
we're looking forward to you moving along and getting things done over there now, so.
Me too.
But you are.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I did have one question, Amy, for the certificate of appropriateness, do you plan to do that? You don't plan to do it on the side, right?
Not at this time.
So just on this side or
It's
both
just on
sides?
the front wall.
So on the other,
Both
Okay.
sides of the front
okay,
wall.
Of the door.
Yes.
that
So
side,
Both sides of the
Okay.
front of the building, yes.
Okay, can I have a motion? Or do you want more discussion?
Actually, I was just going to say something as an aside. I note as well that there's some pretty extensive landscaping and that bed in front, and I'm assuming that that is in fact part of your plan as well eventually, or now, or?
From my understanding, that flower bed doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the city. And so I'm going to be working with them to figure out how that works, because my property line is the wall of the building, not the flower bed. But we're working on that. Because right now it's not attractive. It's kind of
Thank you.
overgrown.
Thank you for
Yeah.
continuing to work on it.
Yeah, so that's the plan, yes.
Any other questions, comments? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve facade, 430 West Chestnut.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Those opposed? There being none, then the motion is approved. Okay, item number E. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to modify the facade at 118 West Chestnut Street, case number 2021-71H. Ms. Dow?
okay. So the 118 West Chestnut was formerly Batts Audiovisual, and it's been utilized by a local church since then. There's new owners, and so they're working on the inside now and would like to also make improvements to the outside. If you notice in this, there's not the main entrance on front, but the entrance to between the windows, and then the area between the windows, and then the facade, it's kind of a transom area. And that's the back of the building.
front, that's how the building looks right now?
Yes,
The back looks narrower than the front. Am I seeing something
it,
incorrectly?
it is.
Okay, so there's some kind of, what's that Quonset hut? Is that hooked onto it?
Separate property.
I think there's an empty space between that Quonset hut and this building.
Okay.
Am I-
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll let the applicant speak to that. You want to go ahead and
Come on down.
just,
Thank you for coming.
if y'all want,
Do I get to use the pointer too?
you can, yeah, you get it.
Cool. Thank you, Donna. So, I don't have a laser or anything, but you can see where the brick changes color above the transom there. That's where the building, it was first built just the left side, so it was doubled, and they added that second half to the right that doesn't extend all the way to the back. So in this angle, it's only showing the original building, and there's another portion that's recessed, another, I think it's 35 feet before the Quonset hut.
So are we talking about the entire facade in the front?
In the
Or
back.
just half of it?
I'm proposing to fix the back also.
Now, if you go back to the front facade, are you talking about changes being made from the left-hand side all the way over past that single door and single window?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what I'm proposing is to remove that mast that's up there right now. That was added at some point, and I think it's some kind of aluminum, and those panels are hardy, and they're unpainted. They're kind of loose and rattly in there. It's not a very good solution, so I'm proposing to remove that and to unify the building even more with an awning that goes all the way across with new signage of the building address. I really like what Blackbird did, and it's something very similar to that.
Yeah.
And the building has this orange block that goes all the way around all three sides.
Right.
And that was original. You can see where they matched it. But then they added this brown brick in the middle to kind of unify the two buildings that they added onto. So
Right.
I'm not proposing to change those at all. I'm leaving those brick as they are. I'm just proposing to add accents that help unify the whole design.
Okay. We're going to address both of the motions that pertain to your building, one right after the other. The first thing we're gonna look at is just the structural changes to the building.
Okay.
So, the structural changes, as I understand it, you're just gonna remove the present sign
Mm-hmm.
and put up a new metal awning.
That's correct. In the back also, I don't know if this is the second you were talking about.
New door.
So
Okay.
the part that's shown in dark here is all siding, and everything above these garage doors is all siding. So the brick doesn't ever transfer over the doors. It's all aesthetic and not structural. So I'm proposing to take that material off and replace it with new material and paint it, as well as a new door, because those doors they don't work very well.
Certainly looks better.
Yeah,
You going back with a single door?
I think so.
So, one of the things I like, I read your write-up in detail.
Mhm.
You're dealing with 70-ish architecture and things such as that.
Mix.
And you stipulated throughout what you were trying to do was maintain that history.
Absolutely.
So, I will say that I'm impressed with what you're doing. I know the building well, but I think your write-up justifies.
Good. Yeah, it's a tricky one because
Yeah.
Main
Very
Street
much so.
has a lot of beautiful buildings, and I wouldn't say this is particularly one of them. But it could, with design changes like this, it works really well for what I need it for, and it stands for kind of its own historic nature in that it's not classic in the early 1900s sense, but the international modernist movement in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like there's kind of a mix of generations that kind of add it all together. So these updates should kind of unify it to signify that it was built in the 60s, 70s, and it stands for that industrial modernist movement. And so we're not trying to get away from that. We're just trying to clean it up.
Enhance it.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
you're replacing the windows and the doors in the front?
So the units on the left, those are existing.
Okay.
We'll clean those up and add signage to the glass. The door on the right is currently a residential door, so I would be proposing to replace that with a storefront unit that matches the aluminum on the left.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Any remarks?
Go a couple more, there's some narrative there. Get that and make sure that that specifies, because that will be used for your certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
Okay.
And before you have a seat, if you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Austin Hoover, 1513 North Wharton Street, Sherman, Texas, 75092.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I assume, Benjamin, that you would prefer two motions since there are two agenda
Yes.
items?
Yes. So can I have a motion for the construction? E. I move approval of the request to modify the facade at 118 West Chestnut Street. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then construction is approved. Now, don't run away. We're going to go on to the next part of your building, and that is item I. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and make a recommendation on a request to paint the facade at 118 West Chestnut Street, case number 2021-71H. If you'd like, show us what you're going to do.
In addition to what I just told you?
The painting that you're going to do
Oh, the painting.
on the facade.
Technically, there's zero paint. Oh, well, I guess to the back. The back will be painted. Because this will be either hardy or smart wood siding. So that will be painted. And in the front, there's a mass in between those two windows right in the middle under the signage. That's currently like a painted concrete block, I think. And I'm proposing to stucco that, like a dyed stucco. And so it's not really a paint color, but it will match the dark accents.
Now, that is stucco that's in between those two windows?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think there's a problem with painting over stucco, is there?
Do you tint the stucco?
Yeah, so when we apply the new material, we'll basically mix in a dye or a dark ink or darken it up, basically. We just want it to match the rest of the accents we're adding. In the back, I think is the same case. We're putting the dark accents on the front. We want to put the dark accent on the back also. And since we're leaving the existing masonry, it makes adding any other color really tricky because it's a bright orange-red color, and it doesn't hold many complements other than blue. So there's some blues that I was looking at, but I really like the grayscales a lot more. So I think Don and I had a few conversations where we were on the phone, we were looking at these. I really like the grays more than that
Yeah,
blue,
I agree.
and I think it holds closer to the historic nature of the building too, because most of those steel and iron accents were dark gray.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but between the two front windows, that's existing stucco that's there?
Yeah, it's like I think it's a block. I think they're concrete blocks that are 16 by 16, and they're stacked with joints that are and the whole thing is painted a peach color.
Okay.
And you're leaving that the lines in between, if you will, you're not stuccoing or re-stuccoing, reapplying over that?
No, I think I'm gonna reapply over all of it and re-stucco it, so it looks like a solid mass.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
There it is.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve repainting recommendations on 118 West Chestnut.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? There being none, then your painting is approved.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Donna,
I
is the
didn't,
microphone turned on there?
I'm par-
Is
what?
the microphone turned on?
Yeah, we can't hear you very well.
Oh, really? I could hear it.
It's on now. Okay. So I would like to point out that the colors will go before City Council on Monday evening, the 13th. And so you can't paint. The other, you and Amy so far will be waiting for a certificate of appropriateness, which we'll try to get out rapidly. And then you can go to the permit office upstairs to begin your work.
Okay, so can I begin construction but not the painting?
As soon as you get the certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, so I still need to go through the color process?
Yes,
Okay.
but you can go ahead and begin the work because you're not ready to paint yet anyway, and
Right.
hopefully by
Well,
the
I've got the door on hold. I'm ready to get that door replaced so I can get a renter in there.
Yeah, so you
Donna,
can,
when is the board meeting, the council meeting?
Monday,
Monday? Okay.
yes.
That's not gonna delay you that much.
Okay,
But you can, I'll get with you and get you the certificate of appropriateness, and then you're ready to go, the construction part that was approved, you're ready to go.
okay,
But you have to get the building permit upstairs.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Okay, moving on to item F. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request for new signage on the facade of 130 East Woodard, case number 2021-72H. Ms. Dow, Bob had recused himself on this one.
So this is where former Tupelo Honey was. It's at the end of the Katy Depot. Monet's Bistro was there most recently. And the area that's in white right now just has a white sheet up there and has traditionally been used as a signage area. And so this applicant, who is not here, is proposing this sign for the Parish 1807 grill. It would be an 8-foot tall by 14-foot wide aluminum sign, and that's a close-up of it. It's in gold accent, white lettering with a black background.
Does this conform with the city's regulations on signs?
So I may need some help. Where did Bill go? Bill was here. So it still has to go before the building department, and they will do a final look at it, but it's not over 20% of the building face. And so it will be applied with metal bolts, as in the application. But it'll still have to go through the building department to make sure
Shouldn't
that
it go to the building department first?
it doesn't, it has to have your approval before it goes.
Okay.
So on occasion, or we could start the practice of them reviewing it,
I
but,
think that might be beneficial, because I'd hate to approve something and then have the other department say, no, you can't do that.
right. But
At
it,
this point, would
yeah,
it be appropriate, though, to approve it, or you want to hold it, George?
I think we can go ahead and approve it at this point.
I think the proportion of the sign to the building is appropriate. In fact, I think that were it much smaller, it would look kind of like a postage stamp on that facade. I think the construction of the sign and the font is appropriate for the building. I think it would be an addition to that otherwise kind of boring facade.
I'm looking forward to them opening up.
Yes.
It will be nice. All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the new signage on the facade of 130 East Woodard.
Second, excuse me,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Those opposed, there being none, then the motion is carried.
I wonder what's up with this.
You can let Bob back in.
Here, he
Come
can
on
get,
in,
you can
Bob.
come in.
All right, moving right along. Item G, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request to modify the facade at 323 West Main Street, case number 2021-73H.
So we will let our applicant come up in a second. I'll do a brief introduction and try not to mess it up. But you have approved something that looks similar to this. Some of you may not have been on the board at that time. It was in 2019. The change that I noticed was the position of the door was moved from one side to the other. And so, you know, that's not a significant change. That and the fire had affected this property. And so I'll just go on. I'm going to let him come back and talk about this. This is the rear facade, and the windows are not in the picture that I'll show you in a second. If you notice on the left-hand side, that is an additional door. So because of plans for the building and, you know, to increase the potential for it, you want access to the upper story, and so that will need to be maintained for the front and the back. And so that's what that door is doing. And now I can't get. Are you able to help to go to the next one? Thank you. Let's see. I don't know.
So I have a
Keep-
question, Donna, if this was approved, do we need to reapprove it, or I'm just a little,
Well, I would assume that it would be approved as was, but they wanted to make modifications. I believe those are slight, and so, yes, you would need to approve their modifications. And so, potentially, you could, do the whole project again. So I would recommend approaching it as if you were approving the whole thing.
okay.
That was the approach I was going to take.
Okay.
Kudos for making the back facade so
There you-
attractive.
The front, I wanted to show the front as it is. I don't know what I've done, but there you go.
Exactly.
And then that's the front as it is, and you can see the windows are intact on the upper facade. And you'll notice the bi-level of the awning, that awning's been removed, and so that, that's changed that. Pansha, can you go to the rear? You'll notice that the upper windows are not there, and the one with the dumpster, they would propose making that into a door. And then one more, there should be a layout.
The question, Donna, in discussions we had yesterday, is there a requirement for 2 exits for the second floor?
Yes, so
Are
the
there-
front, to maximize the potential use of it, there are. So if they're going to do lofts or offices and things like that on the
Is
top
that-
floor,
Is that
there would
in this plan?
that's what I was trying to show, but it's not
Okay.
coming up.
Sure.
Okay.
Excellent,
Come on up.
thank
So,
you.
yeah,
Thank
it's,
Introduce. State your name, please.
Yes, sir. Spencer Morrison, and I'm at 2005 Diamond Ridge, Carrollton, Texas. And so, yeah, Donna's absolutely right. The reasoning for the change is twofold. Firstly, the way that the front facade and the storefront glass was laid out in the original is not conducive kind of with our intent for that entry now. It was kind of, I'd say, like set back and then set back again and then open back up. So that front door was actually like almost 10 feet off the front of the building facade. So we've proposed kind of just a simple rectangular inset of that storefront facade in our plan. And so that's one for the change, and then two is the rear facade again to add that door, with our intent being to add 2 identical loft units one on the front, one on the rear of the second story of this building. And so that would be, for the front entrance, the front tenant, and for the rear entrance, the rear tenant. I don't think we're actually required to have 2 doors necessarily per code, but from a functionality standpoint, it's a big deal for us.
So can I see the photo of the proposed change, Donna?
So this is what I've got 3 copies of the same thing, and this is just the first. Yeah, absolutely. They're for everybody here. What I don't have though, Donna, is the originally approved version.
Right, they had that in their.
In the packet.
Okay, yeah, and so you should,
Just to note, the
Right.
certificate of appropriateness is only good for 12 months. So it would have expired by now anyway,
Yeah,
Okay,
if it was approved in 2019.
okay.
that's fine. I didn't see the second door in the front facade, so.
and so yeah, if you see it on the plan
Yeah,
there,
it's-
you've got that rectangular inset, and as you were to walk in the building, it's immediately to your right,
the
so you
image that
actually
was
don't
shown,
see it
looked
from
like
the
was
front.
Just one door and windows.
Right. I
Where's
understand
the
the
other
confusion there. I
entrance?
apologize.
No, that's
So-
fine.
So, your handout was, once again, like 118, I mean, it was very thorough.
Thank you.
You showed the floor plan, very easy to understand.
Mhm.
The changes that I saw were pretty minor, but the thing you emphasized was you wanted to keep that historic value, keep that historic look. Things like that you were gonna redo the bricks, take the paint, restore the original bricks.
Right.
I once again was impressed with your write-up.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I think we've gone through a couple of round of comments with the city and with Donna particularly about the paint on the wall that's now exposed that the building used to be on there, and potential for whatever's going to happen in that adjacent building to go up, and that helped to drive the conversation of whether we paint the bricks or not paint the bricks, and just functionally it would be very difficult for us to try and restore the bricks back to original given that they've already been painted, and so we found that this was the best solution.
So I'm very pleased with the design you came up with, and looking forward to having that done.
Yeah, absolutely, as are we.
I'm sure you are.
Absolutely.
I have a
Any other
question.
questions?
I do. I wasn't here in 2019 on the board, but if I remember reading in our packet, in that particular time, you were going to try to remove the paint? And
Yes.
that now you're not going to remove the paint and repaint, you're just going to paint over the paint? Is
And
that-
so I also wasn't here in 2019.
Okay.
That said, the fire affected that dramatically. I think the way that it treated the paint that was currently on the brick, I'm not an expert in paint removal or anything really of that nature. I've talked to 2 different people that do this regularly, a general contractor here in Denison actually, and then the architect is working on this, and both suggested that it would be not cost effective for us, and 2, frankly, I think you would end up with a look that you wouldn't necessarily like.
Right.
It would damage the grout, and that's another issue from a structural standpoint. We're already going to have to come into this building with steel on the wall that's now freestanding and really shouldn't be, and so we don't want to damage the structural integrity of the brick either. And so those are really the 2 reasons that we chose to go back to the paint.
You really do run the risk of damaging the bricks if you try to take the paint.
Right.
Yeah.
So has the back of the building, the rear facade, has it been painted?
I don't believe so.
No.
Oh, okay. It's already switched. Yeah, so it has not, but we would intend to paint that as well. Yeah, to match. And then the conversation is yet to be decided whether we go forward with painting that wall adjacent. Kind of our initial thought was, you know, one, approval from you folks before we went ahead and painted it and then decided, oh wait, we don't like that color, let's go back and repaint, we don't want to do that. So we're here now getting one color approved, hopefully. Then the question becomes, you know, do we paint it before a building goes there? How close is someone to doing something with that property? We're still trying to figure that out.
From the conversations, we had an out-of-town expert here yesterday to school us a bit on the do's and don'ts of the buildings. And his feelings seem to be that what you do to the back of a building is not nearly as important as what you do to the front. So I don't think we're going to be quite as concerned with the treatment of the rear
Okay.
as we are about the Main Street side of the building.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, you know, we tried to do as best we could to reflect the front and the back to be as close to similar as they can.
Right.
We're actually working on 327 right now as well. If you notice, there's some construction going on in that building, and we're contemplating putting in a rear facade change to that building as well. So I welcome that piece of advice.
Good. Any more discussion or comments?
Well, I do, because I guess I'm confused about something. Donna, is there not an ordinance that if brick or stucco has not previously been painted, that you're not allowed to paint it? Am I?
it's a standard
Yeah, we have
But it's not a,
That is
cut and dry.
that's in the guidelines from the Department of the Interior on
Right.
historic preservation. And we have enforced that in the past. But I'm kind of betwixt and between which way to go. I'm not, like I said, I'm not real concerned about the rear of the building.
Right.
Donna, am I right or wrong?
Well, don't go away.
I'll stand right here.
No problem for you.
I feel like it's a standard for a reason, and so I wouldn't encourage painting of it, but the one thing that I would say is when others see a surface that's not painted, being painted, then that sets a standard as well. So that's all I'll offer on the subject. But I would like for him on a different subject to give a little bit more detail about the lower facade. He made some concessions, I guess you would say, to make that a wooden storefront. So I would like him to explain a little bit more about the wood and the glass and the doors you will use on the storefront.
Yeah, and I'd like to stick to the structural changes right now. We'll get into the painting after this.
Sure. Okay. And yeah, to Donna's point, we had initially come forward with aluminum storefront, both front and rear. That would still be our preferred option from a simplicity of construction and cost standpoint. Frankly, the look is very, very similar. Outside of really where you're going to get kind of on the top of that storefront, the wood is the bigger difference there.
Thank you.
And so this is obviously the new updated submittal with all the wood. And so we moved away from the aluminum per our conversation with Donna.
We're looking at the back here, right?
Yeah, that is the rear, yes. That's
So
correct. That's
It's the front that there's concern about, Donna?
Yes, the lower
Okay.
facade, the upper facade is intact.
Okay. If you would explain what you're doing with the front facade here?
Well, I mean, as you can see in the photo of the today picture, the front facade is non-existent from the
Right.
eave of the bottom windows down, and so we're proposing just a reinstallation of the storefront there with the recess that you see in that photo or that site plan rather. And like I said, we had initially submitted aluminum storefront. Now that doesn't mean that the framing of that, so the signage area and the sides adjacent to the storefront and the paneling at top, that was always going to be wood. But the storefront itself, the lines between the windows and things like that were initially going to be aluminum. We've changed that now. per conversation with Donna. And so that's kind of what we're doing going forward.
Most of the buildings of this type on Main Street, where you're planning to put the wood across the front, have windows in there to
Mhm.
provide light into the interior of the store.
Yes, some of them do, yes.
Did you consider doing that or no?
We did not look at it. I don't know. So I think our storefront also goes 2 or 3 feet higher. Most of those other buildings stop at the door, at the top of the door. So we do have more, I think, above the door frame than you would see in some of the other buildings. But no, we did not look at doing windows in that transom area there above the awning.
I don't know what the building looked like originally. I did not refer to Mr. Hander's book on the storefronts.
As you can see from the current photo, it had kind of a bi-level, and then,
That
well,
probably-
bi-level awning, and then it was slanted.
Is
and
this
so-
something that was done back in the 60s?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
And so it was, it's been modified now, so it
Okay.
will, whatever it is, will have to be created, either, reimagined or replaced to look as it did then. What he can also talk about to gain access to the second floor, how you were going to do that, and that's what the drawing that you have, that's the only image that shows it, how it's kind of, and
That
how
would-
far
that would-
inset.
Yeah, it's how when
That
you,
would pretty much preclude putting windows in that space.
well, at least for the right side, as you would walk in, those stairs are immediately right there.
That would look kind of.
And so, yeah, you would, your 2 right side transom windows would look into one of them a wall and the other one a staircase, basically, yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
So, and once again, you're dealing with a very difficult project here. We understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's very challenging.
yeah, just from a glimpse of what, we're gonna have to deal with here, we're replacing the entire concrete foundation on this, pouring new footers. It's gonna be more expensive to save this building than it would be to build it new.
Yeah.
And that's just a
Right.
fact.
That building took on a lot of water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you notice any brick damage, like any of the,
In some places, really the biggest problem for us is going to be the second floor floor joists, where they were, burned, water damage, heat issues, and so they've expanded and contracted so many times that they don't really fit into the pockets where the brick wall is anymore. And so we're not 100% sure whether or not we're going to have to replace all of them. Hopefully not. But that's the biggest. Obviously, besides the missing storefront, that the fire caused.
There's a sliding metal door on the second floor. I assume you're going to get rid of that and block it up?
On the front facade? Or,
If you look at it from the side where the fire was, you can see a metal sliding door up there on the second floor.
yeah, well, certainly that is, yes. I'll be frank with you, I wasn't even aware that was there. And I've been in there like 5 times. No, okay, yeah, we would propose removing that, yes.
Yeah, I looked at that and I thought, that's a recipe for disaster. It just gives an opening for fire to jump from one building to another.
Yeah, I don't know why that, maybe those 2 buildings were connected previously on the second floor, and they were,
I don't know, they may have shared floors or something.
yeah, I'm not sure of the,
that could have been a stairway before the other building was built next to it on the east. I mean, that could have been a, exterior door, barn door.
All right, any more comments or questions?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion? Linda?
I just want to make sure. I move to approve the modifications to the facade at 323 West Main Street.
Can I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the motion is carried.
Thank you for the commitment to the street.
thank you.
Now we'll move on to the next part. Item H, receive report, hold discussion, and take action on a request to modify. Did I get them backwards? I
Well,
thought the second one was supposed to be paint.
take action, President modify.
Item H,
The first one also said facade, I believe, so maybe they just both say facade.
There's that, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
They both say facade.
Donna, the agenda is essentially the same for both item G and item H. Thought item H was to be the paint. Or was one supposed to be the front facade and the other one the back facade?
Wants to be the paint.
Okay, so can we modify that on the agenda?
How do we handle that?
Please?
We can't.
Good catch.
Thank you.
We can't. It's a posted legal agenda item. If we change the wording of it, then we haven't met the posted legal requirement of an agenda item, it seems to me.
I agree with what Linda said.
Huh?
I agree.
I mean, that's just a precedent we don't want.
How much is this going to hold you back if we don't approve the paint colors today?
I can say that it, from a construction standpoint, probably not a ton. We have a lot of work to do inside, and so, yeah, at face value, probably not a ton. But what it does, obviously, we have a little bit of trepidation, right, if we're going to go forward with all the work without full approvals, and you guys understand that, so I don't need to say much more than that.
Do we have another meeting this month, Donna, or is the next meeting the 4th of January?
I don't think we have.
We had one scheduled for the 21st. At this point, that's been canceled, but we could have that one
Could we
taken
have,
care of.
excuse me,
Functionally,
do
the
it.
difference between December 21st and January 4th to me is
Okay.
near
Good.
zero, so that doesn't affect.
Right.
I would hate for
Another-
y'all to come in and do a meeting for one agenda item.
Well, I'm sure you understand the situation.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, we
absolutely.
just made a mistake on the
Yeah,
agenda.
understood.
apologize for
Another factor in that is that in December 21st, the council won't meet again until in January. So
Wouldn't have.
if
Good
the
point.
4th or.
Wouldn't matter anyway, okay.
So we can go ahead and do it. The only action that you're taking is making a recommendation to council, so that'll be okay.
Oh,
Okay,
oh, good.
Because
Good
they're
news.
listed on there as the two separate items, we know we're doing two separate actions, so that's fine.
thank you. So
Okay,
if you
so-
want to click through and show them your color.
And so, yeah, this is the, what you've seen in the facades that we've shown, the images previous. This is the current option one. We had gone through iterations of the paint choices, with Donna, and Bill, I believe, is that correct? And Bill, and received the, I guess, approved list of all the different paint swatches, colors, options, things that we needed to go through. We chose, obviously, what we thought to be the best for us, and then also, obviously, here provided, option 2 and 3. They are all quite similar intentionally, because we think this is the right look that we want to go for. And so if there is, some trepidation with the gray of the first option, we can move to a different gray or potentially a brown gray. And then outside of that, I think we've kind of already touched on the reasoning behind desiring to paint the building. Again, we have basically 3 different conditions on the front, the side, and the rear of the building. I believe that it's in the best interest of the property to have all of those sides match, which then obviously brings up the question of painting the brick on the rear, which we've already, somewhat discussed. So outside of that, there's not much else for me to
Can you
present
show
on
us
this one.
The photo or the drawing of the front facade, as it's going to be, that's what I wanted to see there.
Yes, sir. There it is.
My own opinion is that this would match what we're trying to go for on Main Street.
Mm.
And I think it looks great.
I agree.
So would your
I
light
like the
color
option
be on
one.
the top brick and then the darker
That's
color
correct,
be on
yeah,
the window?
that's correct.
What, the top of the facade and the pediments above the windows and the sills, are those going to be painted also? Or
Yes, they would be painted white color, yes. Which I guess, you know, in hindsight 2020, we probably should have had on our proposed color mix.
They're
The darker
currently white.
And they are currently white, so maybe that could be why they weren't. But
Okay.
we would look to touch that up. Obviously, we wouldn't leave them as is. So same color that they might be today, new paint.
Are
Can I
those
see
brick,
option one again?
Yes, sir.
are those brick seals, are those seals brick now, is that?
The window sills, I don't believe so. No, I think they're hard-formed, single piece of concrete type material.
Yeah, it's yeah, I've seen that before on Main Street.
Mhm.
And I don't think we got this in the application, but this is what the side of the building looks like. So you can see the top wasn't necessarily painted. These are sort of interior walls, and this does have, smoke on it.
There was a second floor on the adjoining building as well, wasn't there? The building was up against that?
Right or left side?
I believe that there was, except, so you can see there's floor joists all the way across, and so
Right.
it stops just at the end of where that door you were mentioning was.
Yeah.
So the second floor of that adjacent building ended.
So there was a second floor on that building
Yes.
next door, yeah.
Yeah, there's an apartment of the,
I think it's appropriate to allow the rear of the building to be painted the same as the front, just for continuity with the building. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it.
I agree.
Kirsten?
And I think particularly with any damage that was probably done by smoke and
Water?
water, that
Yeah.
I think the integrity of that could probably be enhanced with paint.
Well, it will certainly protect the paint as well, yes. I mean, the brick, excuse me.
Are you proposing to paint the side of the building as well, or? you don't
And so
know?
we've been through that conversation a couple times. Obviously, I mentioned we wanted to wait until we had this meeting before we chose to paint it or not to paint it. My initial thought is we wait. The main reason being we're not really 100% sure what's going on in that adjacent building. In fact, I believe that the partners at my company are interested in it. And so if that comes to fruition, then we have a situation where we're going to be moving forward with that one as fast as possible, and it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to paint it and then, immediately construct a building next to it. That said, I know that it's an eyesore, and the city probably wants it covered up, so it may be in everyone's best interest to get it done. We're open to suggestions on that.
So Donna, the wording is supposed to be suggestion,
Recommendation.
recommendation?
To the council.
All right. Can I have a motion to make a recommendation with colors? Bob?
make a motion to recommend the requested change in colors in 323 Main.
And be specific, it's Valspar Soulful Gray and Valspar Muscade Gray.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, then the suggestion, the recommendation is carried. This will be presented to City Council at their next meeting.
Which is, you
And-
said,
Monday.
this Monday. Okay, great. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you,
Thank you for coming, and
Thank you.
thank you for what you're doing for that building.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Deeply appreciated. I got tired of seeing an empty cavity there.
We're
looking forward
to it. We're excited.
It's also the genesis of what will happen everywhere the fire damage was.
Absolutely.
And it took somebody to make the commitment, the financial commitment to step out and do that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, if you do something with a vacant lot,
We'll throw a party.
How deep are your pockets?
Who knows?
All
thank
right.
you.
Okay, item 3, staff updates. Receive a report, hold a discussion regarding staff updates. Ms. Dow?
What about Renee?
Thank you for your patience with this, and thank you for attending the training yesterday. As I mentioned in that training, I've given you information on a Real Places conference. I was having trouble getting the link to come up, so I found an email with kind of an overview of what it was. It's the Texas Historic Commission is putting that on. As I mentioned, Ms. Anderson has attended that and felt it very beneficial. They've had different things in the past, like the day before, they will have a window workshop or something of the sorts that sometimes are good. So I would be glad to work with you to get you registered if you're interested in going. So I just need you to look over this and then share with me your interest and ability to attend. It does say that there are potentially hotel stipends that we could get so it wouldn't cost the city. I will check into those once I hear back from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you need the link, I would be glad to share the link with you.
When do we need to let you know?
As soon as possible. I don't know when the registration deadline is. Due to the transition, we missed the early registration, but, just
All right.
as soon as you
Donna, I know that I want to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the rosin report is an additional copy that I gave you. And I would, I didn't do the presentation for this. I thought maybe you could glance through it. On the very first page, the first paragraph talks about this rosin report. And so this company came and shared with us. They did a resurvey of our district. So our district was originally listed on the National Register based on a 1983 survey. And we are still going by that. In 2013, we had a survey and really weren't in agreement with some of the things on it. So that's why we had another one in 2017. And they gave us more detail, which is contained in this report. They gave us, if they didn't feel like the building was contributing, they told us why. And so that, at the back of this report, there's information on individual buildings. So then the last sentence, the previous one didn't give information about integrity issues. If you'll go down to the third paragraph, the second sentence, the central recommendation is to amend the 1983 National Register nomination by expanding the historic context and period of significance to 1968. So, it went back 50 years from the 83 survey, and you can now fast forward and take in a bigger period where more of our buildings would be contributing to the National Register District. So I feel like, in future meetings, we can discuss your interest in doing this. But I just wanted to point out, I feel like if you read this, it's going to be very, very informational and state it much better than I could. But I just wanted to bring some things out.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you.
So now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's go over to page 6. And there's some bullet points, and right under that, it talks about the 1983 nomination. And it was for Denison Historic Commercial District is locally significant in the areas of architecture, commerce, and transportation. And then it talks in the next sentence about being eligible as a contributing resource in the historic district. So there are individually listed buildings, such as the Travelers Hotel, and then there is the district. So most of the things that you look at are based on the district, but there are some individually significant. And, you know, think I'm be safe in saying that you would consider them all the same as to the treatments of them. Down about halfway down that page, it says National Register eligibility, talks about physical characteristics and historic significance. And then, Kirsten, you had asked yesterday about the contributing and non-contributing. So the paragraph right below that, the consultants analyzed data, looked at the architectural integrity and historic significance of each property, and they analyzed based on the factors they saw. There's 2 criteria for contributing there. And then on the next page, there's 2 criteria for non-contributing. And so I think that'll answer your question. And then I would recommend that, you know, at our next training or even our next meeting, or, you know, give me a call and I can connect you with someone that could explain it better if that's, if that would be helpful. And so.
Also, there's a map in here that shows the historic district.
Yes. On page 9, it says survey recommendations, and so the second paragraph before the bullet point says amend the 1983 National Register nomination. So that's one of the things that they requested that we did. We haven't done that yet. So I would say that that's still a good recommendation. But, you know, you can read that and bring it back. I'm going to, on page 10, at the last paragraph on that page, as described by nationally recognized real estate professional Donovan Ripkema in his book, The Economics of Historic Preservation, commitment to preservation may be one of the most effective acts of fiscal responsibility government entities can undertake. That was a book that was mentioned yesterday. And so we're going to be getting that. And then at the bottom of page 11, it talks about the 20% federal tax credit, the 25% Texas Historic Preservation tax credit. These are being taken advantage of. So by us having the historic district already, when we have these developers that come in, such as the depot, we have laid the groundwork for that to be marketable and attractive to them and financially feasible by providing the National Register listing. And so they are eligible for those tax credits. And then the last page I wanted to go, I don't want to go over, I just wanted to point out, there is a series of maps and they are all titled. And so I thought about mentioning this at the beginning of the meeting, but the 2 buildings on Chestnut today are out across the street, actually, from the lines of this. And so I just wanted to point that out, that those 2 buildings were not included in this. They are in our historic district, but they are not in this survey that was done. And so another item on that list of recommendations is change the borders. And so it might be that we would include those areas or exclude some areas, like in the 700 block where the building is no longer there. So that's just future discussion that you can have. But, you know.
How could we go about including more area in the historic district, or is it not possible to do that?
No, it is. And you could even have other areas of the city. So you would just make a recommendation to the council to do that. As in this case, we had a survey of the properties done. we are a certified local government, and that's where we got the grant funding to be able to do these. So we could apply for grant funding. It comes around once a year, and we could survey an additional area or resurvey this area, and they could help with the paperwork and facilitate that being done. But you would make the recommendation, and then council would.
Do I work with you to make that happen, or?
Yes, we can bring that up and put it on a future agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to
Have
do that.
discussion, at a workshop or whatever.
I'd like to do that, because it's that walk on Chestnut where the Best Burger Barn is, or Best Burger, it's got some significant history to it. There's a remnant of the railroad track going right across the street there.
Another thing that's of particular interest is it mentions the brick streets and adding the brick streets. So I think, that's something that should be considered as well. So you'll read that in the report, but I think it'll be very helpful and educational. They, in my opinion, did a really nice job.
Just to note, this is just part of our staff update, so if we're gonna continue this topic, it might be worth putting it on a future agenda, because this is
Yeah.
getting pretty in-depth for a regular staff update that's not listed.
Thank you, François.
This is good material. Thank you, Donna.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.